Hello friends, it's John, back with another video of me walking around a place that probably has a lot of things that I want to buy. Today we're at a local antique mall called An Artcraft Studio. I decided to finally check this place out. It's somewhere where a lot of local vendors and friends of mine have booths set up, as well as, of course, many people that I have never met and probably never will. So right away we're in a booth full of pretty neat looking vinyl, comics, trading cards, action figures, all kinds of similar stuff in that vein. I feel like your average antique mall would have, maybe one or two booths like this. But this mall has got, well, I didn't count, a lot. It's a lot more than your typical place. Here this booth has got some beautiful flashing lights, look at that. All kinds of, modern action figures, plus a few vintage items smattered around. We got some more vinyl. And I've always seen posts on social media from the different vendors that have stuff here, but I've just never made my way over, and so when I was in town recently for a different event that you may have already seen the video for, the Louisiana Card Con, I decided why not visit, check it out, see what I could find. And of course, it was an opportunity for me to record and run my mouth to you guys. So here we are. We have a booth full of classic VHS tapes. I love the way this one's set up. It makes me feel like I'm in an old rental shop. I'm not going to guess who owns most of these booths. I feel like I do a pretty good job of doing that, but just on the off chance I get it wrong, I'm gonna keep my lips tight. There's a bunch of Xbox 360 games, Xbox One. We know who won the console wars in that house. These are some really cool Van Helsing stickers. As a light spoiler, I definitely ended up getting some of those. Got a lot of nice little trading cards and video games here in the display case. Lots of plush. It's just like, looks like it would be comfortable to just kind of lay on that shelf. And to the back there, it looked like a bootleg Sailor Moon, but I did not pick it up, and maybe I should have. Some old shirts. I bet you there's some awesome concert tees and classic stuff in there. And we've got a whole wall of various action figures, including these slug zombies. Those are a little known toy line similar to Muscle. I got a bunch of those from Toys R Us before they closed. Those were only $2 a piece. That's a very reasonable price, if that's the kind of thing you're into. Of course, there were a lot of pops around. If you're a pop hunter, this place has got you covered, including lots of autographed ones. I think we may have already passed that case. I didn't linger on it too much. Here we have an appearance of another item I did end up buying, these Keshi Surprise from the Evil Horde. Got display case full of pops there. Some more trading cards. Just a great variety of really interesting items that you could just look at. I mean, I feel like you could spend a better part of a day at this place just kind of looking at all the different booths and seeing what's in there. We have some more high-end items in the display case. I really love the front part of this store. It just looks it's very well lit. Everything is extremely well organized. You can tell that whoever's booths these are spent a lot of time making sure it looked as good as it could. And that's a big deal, man. Makes you feel in the mood to spend some money. There's some more of those autographs I talked about. There are some of the non-collectibles booths mixed in with all the sort of nerd culture stuff. I did try to at least get eyes on them all so you could see that it's there, just in case the nerd stuff is not really your jam. But you will notice I definitely didn't spend as much time on those booths as I did the ones with the geek stuff. So a little bear brick of Tot from Indiana Jones. Always funny to see a kind of cutesy figure of like a horrible villain. And so now we've moved into the back section of the shop, and while it is lit enough for you to see, it's definitely a bit dimmer in there. You can tell this is not the as much loved section of all the booths. Maybe the rent's a little lower back here, but it doesn't mean that there's not some cool stuff back here. Check out that Dinosaurs board game and this rad robot monkey. I also thought this Borg bank was kind of cool, and honestly, kind of wish I bought that little Taco Bell Chihuahua there. Just a whole lot of goodness right on that one shelf. There was a nice display case here to the left that you'll see a better look at in just a moment. Full of mostly modern stuff, but there was some nice vintage in there too. Always got to get my hands on these dig bags just to see what might be thrown in there. One thing I feel is very important to have on your mind when you visit this shop is that these are all booths curated by vendors who know what they have for the most part. Do not go in with the expectation of like a flea market. These are all folks who have done some research and have priced their items what they feel is fair, and as long as you have that sort of mindset before you start walking around, I think you'll still be quite pleased with what they're asking for things. I didn't find anything here that was grossly overpriced. Almost everything was at or below sort of eBay price, including a few things that I thought were extremely underpriced. So all I'm saying is don't go in there expecting to find a garage sale or just someone who showed up at the flea market with a box full of stuff. A lot more of the sort of non-collectibles booths back here. Not putting any of these booths down, that's just not what I was looking for. But I was looking for this pretty cool Snorks book, and you can kind of see what I mean by price. They had $10 on that, and that was selling on eBay for between $7 and $12 before shipping. So if that's something that you want, $10 would be a very fair price for it. I got lured over to this case by some pages of Magic cards, but they looked like they were all commons, so I didn't give them too much attention. I'm not sure what the story is with those plates on a stick. Maybe I should have inspected those a little more, but this Playmobil box caught my eye from way far away, and you'll see they were asking $40. The lowest price on eBay for a sealed one was $50, so you're not getting it for a steal, but you are getting a good price on it. I love these kind of old coloring books and stuff. That Willow activity book. It was in pretty rough shape, so I didn't look too close at it. A Mork and Mindy board game. Anybody out there who remembers Mork and Mindy not have back pain? Oh, it's me. Here we're coming up on another booth of a friend here. This is the Retro Recesses booth. I know that for sure because look, that's my sticker. Salesaurus sticker. Wee-hee. He has a bunch of VHS tapes and some cool turtle stuff, plus some pretty cool vinyl here. Look, it's Braveheart. I just watched that movie the other day. We have a lot more of the sort of typical antique mall stuff. You got these booths with a little bit of everything, like household goods, DVDs, a couple toys thrown in, and the Paranormal Activity original trilogy. If I didn't already own those, I certainly would have brought them home. Not sure why I picked up those shoes. You ever visit places like this, like antique malls? I would say as a general rule, I kind of avoid them just because I'm only looking for, I guess geek stuff is the right word. I don't know, toys, comics, stuff like that. The reason I went to this one is because I knew that I would not fail to find something. This was an interesting booth. They had a whole lot of different types of stuff, a wide variety, including a nice stack of classic Nintendo Power comics, or I guess those are magazines. They do have comics in them, but they're magazines. Now, these were all priced at $10 a piece, I believe, which seems to be about the going rate for most of these things. I didn't look too closely at them to see, if they got the poster in there, what kind of condition are they in, but I don't see a problem with paying $10 for a Nintendo Power. A lot of top-loaded cards in there. I didn't really flip through them because, I just didn't really feel like it. But I did see over here a little bin full of loose action figures. Most of these were like $6 a piece, $7, something like that. Not too crazy of a price if you find something that you really want. And I saw this Baroness sticking out, but I don't think it matters how much she was. I don't need any more Mighty Mugs in my life, but maybe you do. Maybe you could go back and figure it out. Now, you gotta pay attention to the items in this booth, but I can't tell you why right now. We have a lot of really interesting items, a lot of sort of military stuff, some G.I. Joe stuff from a particular era. You get some of the True Heroes, Toys R Us exclusives, that Picard facepalm bust, some reissue G.I. Joes, including this 25th Python Patrol jet. I believe that one was priced at, I think it was $120 on the box. So, not a steal, but not crazy. Got Mythic Legion's Father Christmas. It's very interesting to see that in an antique mall. And then the Rise of Cobra Night Raven Sand Edition. Pretty cool. That was a holy place, so I steered clear of that one. And then right across the hall, we have maybe the most unholy place of them all. We have a booth owned by a big fan of Art the Clown. And, of course, other horror items. Pretty neat, really well laid out. I liked that booth a lot. And we got some more old video games. I guess not old enough to be vintage yet, but pretty darn old at this point. I'm not really aware of what the going rate for vintage games is, so I didn't look too closely at them. But the way they're lined up, I assume they would be pretty fairly priced. Got Married with Children box set. Kind of wish I bought that. And we got some more comics. I love the magazine rack display. more Star Wars figures, more VHS and DVDs. I have a very small VHS collection, and it includes several copies of Species, just so you know who you're listening to talk right now. And we got some more autographs, including the lovely Clive Warren. Copy of Mouse. I believe that's the second volume, so maybe if they had the first one too, maybe I'd have grabbed that one. This Sega Genesis over here was the Streets of Rage edition, which is, I guess, a pretty rare variant of it. I didn't look that closely at it at the time, but when I was pulling information for the video, I noticed how valuable that apparently is. If you go back and buy it, let me know. You know, I'll have to grab a little commission from the seller there. Not sure why these K-pop Demon Hunter pops caught my eye, but I had to walk all the way over and see them. But here's a display case full of vintage toys. Most of them were accessoryless, but they were displayed very nicely and all priced really clearly, so that's great. And we got more modern stuff in the display case, except for that Titanus down there. That's pretty cool. I did shamefully try and spin a non-spinnable display. I did recognize a lot of the inventory here as sort of Ross and Ollie's finds, but you know, there's no shame in that. Gotta get inventory somewhere, right? And as most of the other booths, you know, the prices here were quite fair. You're not getting a steal of a deal, but you're also not overpaying by anything. You know, you're paying the "it's in my hands" tax, you know, and that's just fine. These guys pay pretty high fees from the mall itself to be able to put their stuff here, so the prices are going to be raised accordingly. This guy had a nice selection of Jurassic Park stuff, some nice big monsters. And here we have the first real big pile of comics to dig through. It's all marked Marvel and DC, which I think is a really nice touch to at least sort them somewhat. And then I'm not sure what the story is with that Dr. Mindbender card, but it was definitely signed by somebody. And this booth had a whole bunch of cards to dig through. If you're the type of person who likes to just flip through stacks and stacks of cards looking for bargains, this was not the only place that had them. So you definitely could spend an entire afternoon just thumbing through piles and piles of cards and hoping to get a bargain. I didn't look at it myself, so I can't really speak to what was in there. I wouldn't hold my breath, you know, too much about finding gold in there, but you never know. Everybody has their days where they miss out on something really expensive and throw it in the quarter bin. I did find myself getting kind of lost in this back section. It was a lot bigger, of course, than the front, and it felt a little bit maze-like sometimes. I would round a corner and see a booth that I had already seen, and then sometimes I would turn a corner and see something that looked brand new to me, and it would turn out to just be a booth I'd already looked all the way through. So I guess, you know, bring some breadcrumbs with you so you can make a trail to get back out of the back room of an Artcraft Studio. Definitely in a housewares heavy environment here. Oh look, a Funko Pop. We're saved. Oh, and a couple Power the Force hanging out. This booth looked like it was in the process of being set up, so I didn't really feel like I should get in there and, get in their way. They even had a big section of furniture in the back corner. I kind of like this Spider-Man Jada Nano Figs set. I like the little street backdrop that it has. Sometimes I get suckered into a booth because they have like one or two toys, and then that's where it stops. We got some more comics. Looks to be from the same vendor as that other section with the Marvel and DC. Had some nice comics on the rack there, as well as even more Star Wars figures. Look, it's Tebow. One of these days I'm gonna have to come back and just spend the whole time looking at comics just to see what I can find, just what I can dig up. But today was not that day. Here you see what I'm talking about. I came at this booth from the other direction before, and I would have sworn to you it was a different booth. Here we're starting to make our way back out to the other side of the front. I only walked up one side on the way in, so we still got a whole another part of the front to look at. This booth was a lot of autographs on the back there, as well as some sports memorabilia, coins, a lot of older man collectibles. And as an older man myself, I approve of that. They did have a little section here with some Labubu stuff. I didn't get a good look to let you know if it was authentic stuff or not, but we'll just assume it was, since I have nothing to tell me otherwise. We got some graded cards, some knives. And this is the register where you check out. And right up here was a whole section of paints. I'm not really sure what those paints are intended for, but that kind of caught me off guard. Got some more Pokemon and Funko Pops. We got some old novels. That's pretty awesome. This was another section with really nice lighting, very well organized, with a lot of cool modern toys, including a bunch of NECA figures. And this NECA Planet of the Apes soldier kind of caught my eye. I've seen these figures before, but I don't think I'd ever seen that packaging at that point. And it did its job. It got my hands on it. There were some folks digging through the loose cards over there. We got a whole nother section. I mean, this just looks like somebody's living room to me. You got all the old electronics, a magazine rack, an old lamp. Had some Cracked and a Bloom County book, plus a bunch of old Playboys. Feel like you're over at your uncle's house. Some more records, including Samantha Fox. You see what catches my eye. And I thought this was a nice booth. They had a bunch of kind of creepy, it was called Living Dead Girl, so that kind of tells you everything you need to know. But I like these little clutches. That one looks like a Cthulhu book, which is neat. I don't really know a lot about if this is a brand or a vendor or what, but certainly had some really nice stuff. And it was very beautifully arranged and look to be of high quality. You know, that's one thing you always got to watch for at these type of antique malls and stuff, is a lot of low quality stuff that's presented as if it's high quality. So we're going through the last booth here before the end of the Artcraft Studio tour. All in all, I really enjoyed my time at this place. I thought it was really fun to just walk around and look. There wasn't any kind of high pressure sales going on. The people that worked there just kind of greeted me and let me be, and they were real friendly when I finally went and checked out with my my final purchases. So I definitely recommend checking it out if you're around, or you know, if it's not too far of a trip. I don't think you'll regret taking a ride over to an Artcraft Studio and seeing what you might find. I don't leave just yet. You gotta stick around and see what I brought home. Whoa, hey, I just got back from an Artcraft Studio and thought you might like to see what I picked up. In other words, here's my haul. So the first thing I knew for sure that I was going home with was these packs of Van Helsing stickers. You may have seen my video about the Street Sharks stickers similar to this. I just like how janky and nostalgic these things are. I love just seeing which pictures they picked out of the movie to put on these, because you know they had to pick some weird ones to fill out an entire sticker album. Plus these things were only 50 cents each, so like how could I not go home with at least a couple? The next thing, and it was from the same booth, were these really cool Keshi Surprise miniatures of the Horde from She-Ra or He-Man or whatever you want to call it. Super 7 made these, and they're kind of similar to like the Muscle figures, and these were only $3.50. I don't know if you can even see the print on there. There we go, look at that, $3.50 a piece. What a steal of a deal. And I know these are pretty similar to the ones that I have opened before, like the Universal Monsters and the Transformers. So I was pretty excited about those. Kind of honestly already feel like I should have got more than two, because I know no matter who I get, no matter what color I get, I'm going to be happy. So like, why wouldn't I want a whole pile of these things? And the final things that I decided to go home with were these definitely bootleg, definitely not officially licensed Pokemon items. We got some erasers here with a nice little assortment of Pokemon creatures on there. It feels like there's two of them in there, so you know, double the fun. And then in a similar vein, we got these. Well, I don't know what that says, but you know, Pokemon in some kind of a superhero outfit. I don't know what I'm gonna get out of there. Probably something, you know, kind of poorly painted and extremely weird. Little figurine there. So, and those were $3 a piece, both from the same booth. You know, I don't really care for the bootleg stuff too much, but on the other end, when you know what you're getting into, you know it's bootleg. Sometimes you get some of the weirdest, coolest stuff. So, I'm not going to open these right now. I'm sorry to kind of tantalize you with those, but I am going to open one of these Van Helsing Monster Slayer sticker packs. You know, just tune back in soon to see the other stuff opened. You know, it won't be long. I can't resist tearing into something that I bought. So, Van Helsing stickers, definitely my first peek into these, definitely. I already see something kind of shiny peeking out from the back. That's exciting. So this looks like Frankenstein's monster on the table, maybe, in the process of being... We got Magic Box Inc. number 89. No date on these things. I assume they're all going to be very similar, so we won't waste our time with that. Here we have someone swinging in. It's not Tarzan. That's not the right time of year or era, you know. Oh, we got Dracula's Brides. Definitely some of the best parts of that movie are the scenes with the brides. For obvious reasons and other not so obvious reasons. Oh, look at that. We got the scene right after that where they take off. Look at that. You can make your own little sticker flip book. And then I already saw Miss Kate here in her lovely sort of pirate outfit. And our final item is this really cool sparkly Dracula picture. It is kind of showcasing what I remember being the worst parts of this movie, which is like the CG. But I'll forgive it because it's sparkly. Well, that's going to do it for my visit to the Artcraft Studio over in Mandeville. I hope you had a good time. I sure did. Let me know what you thought about it. Have you ever been to the Artcraft Studio? If you did, what'd you get there? Until next time, let's all try to be cool, and I'll see you again real soon.